Welcome to another episode of the Court Report. We've got NBA, Nuggets, League Fits, and beating the shot clock all in today's episode.
Hello and welcome in.
Please do not leave your luggage unattended on the station.
Welcome to the show.
Welcome back to the Court Report, everybody. We've got another great episode here for you today. DC, we've got a lot of stuff going on in the league. We're starting to warm up into the season, approaching that 20% mark through the year out of the 82 games, and there's a lot going on. You know, things seem to change almost on a weekly basis at this point.
It's true. There's a lot going on in the league. We're going to get into a lot of different things. We're seeing a lot of teams kind of surprise us coming out of the East here, so we're going to touch on that a little bit. But first, I just wanted to give a quick shout out as a former Buffalo, let's go Buffs, to shout out Miss Peggy. It is her 101st birthday. So shout out Miss Peggy. Buff Nation loves you. We wouldn't be the same without you. So shout out to her. Shout out to her. 101. That's a lot of years.
What a milestone.
Come
I mean,
on,
to
man.
have Deion Sanders give you a shout out for being such a loyal fan. I mean, there's not many honors that are higher than that.
And honestly, she's awesome. I've met her a few times over the course of my time at CU. Her and her sister were always such a joy to just kind of see around campus, see at the games. Always had a smile on her face. And guess what? She always would remember people's names.
Wow.
She would remember your name. And I couldn't believe it. I honestly was like, you meet so many people all the time. How can you remember my name? And then they always remembered my name and said hi and gave me a hug and checked on me and asked how I was doing. So shout out to Miss Peggy. Happy birthday.
School grandma right there.
They literally are school grandmas. They are our school grandmas. They were also alumni. They were there from the very beginning. So
Wow.
they are pretty much our school grandma. That's a good way to put it.
That's
I like
awesome.
that.
Yeah. Awesome. Well,
so awesome. And shout out to the Buffs men's basketball team 4-0
wow.
right now.
What a start.
Hot start. A lot of young talent. I'm excited to see what my Buffaloes will do this year. I mean, hey, the girls I think they're 3-1 or 4-1, so they're doing good as well. They're always going to be tough, but shout out to Colorado sports right now.
Colorado sports
right now. I mean,
outside of the
come on.
loss to the Bulls the other night, but we'll get into that later.
We'll get into that a little bit later, but still, I mean, it's amazing time to be in the Rocky Mountain.
Yeah,
So-
and an amazing time for the NBA right now as well.
It is.
We're seeing some pretty entertaining basketball through the season so far this year, and for me, I can't be happier. You brought up the East, and for me, that's one thing that's really exciting right now because are they legit contenders again? I mean, obviously the Celtics won not too long ago, but I think it was a unanimous ideology for a long time now that the
Yeah.
West is the stronger conference, and
Yeah.
is that starting to shift?
You know what? I think that the West still has a stranglehold on it, only because if you look at the top of the West and you look at the top of the East, I still think that the top of the West is a little bit stronger. But hey, those Pistons look really, really good. And I mean, I think they have the second best record in the league behind the Oklahoma City Thunder, who just look ridiculous right now. Doesn't look like anything's going to be able to slow them down. You look at a team like the Cavaliers. We'll see what happens with Milwaukee losing Giannis and how long he's out for. But I think that they're going to be around. I think it's going to be a really strong playoff. I think we're in for, like we were saying, it's going to be an exciting year overall. But I think we're really going to be seeing an exciting playoff season on both sides, Eastern and Western. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree. I think it is going to be a much more entertaining finals run this season. Now, the Thunder being clear cut would normally kind of dampen those feelings. However, I think the Nuggets are structured well to take them on this season, along with a handful of others. We mentioned them facing a true test this year, and they really answered that question for us when they faced the Lakers, because that was our big, can they beat a good team? And the Lakers have proven themselves to be a top quality team, and they dismantled the Lakers wholeheartedly.
It was a butt kicking, and that's saying it lightly. It was a butt kicking, and it kind of proves our point too. Like we were saying, a couple weeks ago, that this league, you're not going to be able to take any nights off. If you take a night off, you're going to get it handed to you, because the talent across the board is that high right now. Even if you go like we're saying to a small market team, although they are the rating champions, have the rating MVP, rating finals MVP, playing out an outstanding level, you're not going to be able to take any nights off in the West. I still believe the East. We'll see. But I mean, the bottom of the West has been pretty bad. The bottom of the East has looked pretty bad as well. But you're not going to be able to take any nights off, and that's going to be the difference when we come down to it. And I was looking today. You look at there's 4 or 5 teams that could be in that 6th seed right now, and it's going to come down to kind of playing every night, playing hard, but it doesn't seem like anyone's going to be able to catch.
Yeah, and
the
big
Thunder
big shout out to the Pistons right now. They are playing very well. I think it's a great combination of young talent and coaching. We've seen all these players on their team who have not really been on anybody's radar stepping up outside of B-ball Paul. I mean, Paul Reed was already somewhat on the radar for some of our NBA fans.
Yeah.
He made a splash on the 76ers.
That's
and
true.
Has continued some stellar play
That's
while
true.
Jalen Duren was getting some rest.
Jalen Duren.
Yeah, and Jenkins as well. He's moved into that point guard, shooting guard role and earned himself a starting role next to Cade Cunningham. Cade Cunningham made his return, and Jenkins was still able to get over 20 points in a game, and he's completely exploded on the offensive end, and the Pistons are proving that they have that depth that's needed to make that playoff run. I think this could be a year they really make a splash.
I think you're absolutely right, and it kind of rounds off into the point that I was going to make today and talk about the pace of play that we're seeing in the league. And they're able to play at that pace, that really high pace, and also be able to cover on D, make sure that their rotations are really well in the fast break, and stop D, make people play in front of them. But on top of that, they're getting out and they're getting a lot of easy buckets, and Cade looks fantastic. But I think it's because of that system that they're playing in, and they're able to play so quickly, but under control. And then on the other half of that, the youth movement. I mean, the youth movement in this league right now is at an all-time, I think, high, where we're seeing that, I don't want to say changing of the guard completely, but you're seeing teams that have a lot of youth that drafted well and are able to play inside of that structure with good coaching. They're really able to get these early wins, and they're looking really good. I think the Pistons are going to be dangerous all year.
Yeah, the young talent is extremely apparent right now. We've been talking about them all season, just all of these guys emerging, and I think that has a lot to do with AAU style basketball. These guys are game ready, and then they go into college and then they just hammer out games. It shifted from a practice heavy focus as a young player to game heavy focus now. And so we're seeing these guys who are more ready to just jump in like it's a pickup game, and not having to need as much time to adjust or mature as a player. And granted, the veterans are still extremely valuable and their presence is felt on some of these high contending teams, but in general, it is definitely shifting towards younger players. And you mentioned the pace of play, and an amazing stat I saw was just recently this past week, the NBA hit its 14th million points in its history. Now, what's interesting about this is it scored its 9 millionth point transferring into the 2000s era.
Wow.
So just in the past 25 years, we've seen 5 million points scored compared to 9 million outside of the entirety of the history of the NBA. So offense is at an all-time high, and teams are really trying to, like you said, push the pace to that next level and gear these offenses to where they're scoring 120, 130 on a regular basis.
Yeah, I mean, the talent level is out of this world right now, and that's crazy that you say that because you look at when Steph came into the league, right? And just the change of outside shooting, guard play. I think the league average right now of possessions is 100 possessions a game.
Wow.
100 possessions a game. That is almost turning it into a track meet with 2 rims on the end, right? Like, you're having to go up and down the court so much. You're having to play so fast and stay locked in. And then you have to guard all of these talented players. And so I think you're seeing a combination of you're getting a faster game, you're getting more talented scorers. Defensive rules and refereeing has varied, I will say, over the last 25 years, but they're leaning more towards being less physical onto shooters and outside guard play. So, hey, I think all of that makes for a beautiful storm that we get to see in what we call the NBA today.
Yeah, I think so as well. And one thing that is just crazy to me is a lot of people don't understand just how much running these players do. And if you're a starter in the NBA, on an average night, you're running about 3 to 5 miles. Now, doesn't sound like a lot. It is a lot for most people here in the US,
Most
but
people aren't doing that.
yeah, exactly. But when you factor in the pace of that 3 to 5 miles, it's not jogging. You're sprinting. You're
Right.
sprinting down the court. You're sprinting back. You're sprinting to cut. You're sprinting to get open. You're sprinting on defense. There's constant high level movement. And then you factor that in with 3 to 5 miles of just high intensity cardio. That's crazy. That's
Yeah.
crazy that these players are able to do that. And one thing I think we're really starting to see is it's affecting some of these guys who are high usage because they're having to do so much. And we saw today, one big report that came out is that players are injured, technically speaking, on the highest level they have been. And it's almost double that of just a couple of years ago. And so I think that maybe this is part of the conversation now. And that's why some of these in-depth teams are doing so well, is because their players aren't so gassed. So, I mean, do you feel like there's a direct correlation between injuries and just how much physical exertion is going on?
That's a good question. And like you said, there is no kind of jogging like you see, soccer or football, wherever you're at in the world. There's not a lot of possessions that you get off, right? So you are sprinting when you're on defense, you're chasing screens, you're chasing shooters. You have slashes that are coming down. You're having to show help. You have to get back. You have to jump. And guess what? Now the ball's on a rebound ricochet. Now we have to get out and run. Now I got to go set a screen. Now I got to cut, pop, pick, right? All of those things, all of those movements on top of up and down is a lot. And I think it does wear on you. I think it does wear on you, especially if you're a high usage guy. They're going to have to get smart over the course of the season on how do we, one, protect our players so that we can have longevity into the postseason if that's where we're going, and two, how do we mitigate injuries, because that it kind of brings that team morale down, right? When you start seeing a lot of guys out and you're down, you're like, man, well, we lost, but we were injured. Well, if we would have had him, we would have won that game. And you don't want to see that going into this first quarter of the season. But also, it means that you're going to have to develop your depth. You're going to have a deep team. And we're seeing that teams that have been deep and have been able to win despite are the ones that are out in the front early.
Yeah, and you bring up the 3-point shot, and I love that observation from you, DC. This is exactly why we're up here talking to the folks, because one thing that goes under the radar for so many people is once we've shifted to heavy 3-point shooting style of basketball, the rebounds become longer. And I don't think as many fans out there understand how many fast breaks this generates on defense transferring over to offense from those long 3-point rebounds, because now all of a sudden we're close to half court and we're running down the field instead of, it's right under the basket. Let's get everyone in position. The center has to get the ball to the point guard. Then we shift it down the court. It's a whole different dynamic when you're just running and gunning the way so many of these teams played. And we saw that the Nuggets were trying to do the same thing against the Bulls. Now, typically that's a good style of play for them,
right,
but it killed them that night because they were just pulling up early in the shot clock. And when you're only doing a 7-second offense, which is what a lot of these teams are doing nowadays, and then combining it with 3-pointers where there's long rebounding, you're essentially running constantly the whole time, basically. But, that's why it's getting favored more and more for these younger players. And we're not seeing them, be as long to get their wings under them, so to speak, right? And
absolutely.
One thing I really want to discuss about these young guys is the Rookie of the Year race.
Ooh.
Now that we're somewhat into the season so far, we've got an idea of who the top tier rookies are at this point, I believe. And one surprising factor is the NBA released their top 3 candidates, and Cooper Flagg was at the bottom of those 3.
He was at the bottom of the 3, and I think that was definitely surprising for me. I thought he would definitely become the front runner. It'll be interesting to see how the season goes for them, though. I think they've had a lot of unexpected things happen with the team. The morale doesn't seem to be quite there in Dallas right now. And they're leaning on him to be. I mean, hey, and you're the number one pick. You're going to be involved a lot in the game plan. But I think they're leaning on him a lot and not having, Kyrie, AD's out now, like we said, injuries piling up across the league. I was kind of surprised to see that, but it's a long season. I think that he's going to be able to hit his stride. I still think that he's going to be the front runner when it's all said and done for Rookie of the Year.
I think so too. And when you look at the statistical categories and averages from the rookies that have been in this season so far, it's pretty obvious that Cooper Flagg deserves to be atop that. He's literally listed on every single of the 5 major stat categories for rookies so far this year. So he's clearly doing it all for his team. I think he's just figuring out where his role is. The Mavericks so far this season just don't have much direction, it seems like. I not necessarily shocked at the firing of Nico Harris. I think that would have been a decision last season, but hey, at the end of the day, they did it. They made the move. I think it's kind of a bad look for Mavs ownership to decide it, especially after having an alleged conversation with a fan that potentially changed his mind. I like that, and I don't like that. I think as an executive, you should have already been able to make those observations, but that's a whole other conversation for a different day. But I think the biggest surprise this season is Khan from the Hornets. What an amazing season for him so far. He's come out hot and stayed hot, and the Hornets have a lot of young talent right now.
The Hornets do have a lot of young talent, and I love that they went over to a teammate's house for dinner. You don't see that a lot in professional sports. You barely see it in college sports anymore. It's more of a high school thing. It's more of a bonding thing. Go over a player's house, meet the family, have dinner. We used to do that in high school myself. But yeah, I got to say, the Hornets have surprised me. And when you look at it across their team, across their roster, it is fairly young. I mean, Mason Plumlee might be the longest tenured person in the league, I think, on that team. And then you had some people with questionable decision making. I think that it's amazing to see that resurgence. I think he's going to be able to continue to kind of lead. We'll see what happens in the East because, like we said, once he gets into the middle of the season, you got to start playing those top 6 teams and see how that kind of turns out for them. But they're ones to watch, and I would be happy to finally see them doing something well.
Yeah, the Hornets have a pretty loyal fan base. It's been
when you're that bad,
tough.
You have to.
It's been really tough for them in general, and to have somebody part of ownership like Michael Jordan and to not have necessarily amounted to a whole lot as a franchise, I hope for the best of them. As as another fellow small market team, I always love to see the underdogs win, and that's a big focus for me. But I think one of the bigger underdogs this season when it comes to the MVP race has been Nikola Jokic. And as we open up into our Nuggets segment today, I just want to address the fans on something with Jokic because
let's hear it.
I've just seen a lot. And, I've been getting into arguments with a lot of people online about who's the potential MVP this season. And I frankly don't understand how there's even a conversation anymore. The hate or the confusion or the discussion around if Jokic is the MVP or not needs to stop. We're talking about a guy who nearly averages 30 points per game, 14 rebounds a game, and over 10 assists per game as a center on 68%, 47% from 3, and over 85% from the free throw line as a center. And this is some guy who's turning in 35, 15, and 15 like it's going to work for the day. I mean, there is no conversation. There is no question who the best in the league is. I want to make it clear that Jokic is the 1, the 2, and the 3 top favorite for MVP right now before we get to Luka and Giannis and Shea and Wemby and everybody else, because Jokic is not on the same planet as everybody in the NBA, and it's time that the rest of the fans acknowledge that.
Some strong words, but I don't disagree with any of it. I mean, if you look at what he's been doing over this year, it's been pretty crazy. Now, we'll talk about Luka and Shea because they are doing incredible things. But what we talk about a lot is the ease of the Joker's play. Like it's kind of very poetic when you watch him. It doesn't seem like he's trying too hard. It doesn't seem like he's straining or forcing anything. He takes what the defense gives to him and he makes things better for everyone else. The Nuggets right now, as a team as well, I wanted to point out, are shooting 50%, 50.9%. I mean, that's almost 51%, but that means pretty much half the time you get an open shot, they're going to make it. And they do very well with efficiency. One of the most efficient scoring teams in the league, efficient on offense in the league. I think they're top 3, if not the top 2. And it's amazing to see how he's orchestrating it all. And I'm curious to see how it's going to continue, or if it's going to need to change a little bit, because losing a guy like Christian Brown, kind of he's a motor guy, he's a spark plug kind of guy. What is that going to mean for the team? And can they, can someone get that consistent spark off the bench that we're going to need as we go forward?
Yeah, I think you bring up a lot of good questions, especially with the uncertainty of rotations and players that are necessary to that starting lineup, like Christian Brown. I think right now the Nuggets are performing at a top 3 level on the offensive end and the defensive end. That's from a statistical perspective. Now they go between the number 1 and the number 2 overall team with those 2 considerations. But for them, I think what people don't understand is just how much better their defense has gotten from a year-over-year perspective. And that goes down to coaching. David Adelman has done a fantastic job so far. He's somebody who's taken a lot of observations and made the adjustments as necessary. And then it comes from their offseason additions. And then it also comes from a big part of this is just the overall supreme commitment that we've seen from the Nuggets as a team. This is a team that is very close-knit, and they all understand their assignments. They all have the same vision. They all have the same goal. And it's just the makings of champions. And that's what I love to see. This has a lot of the same feels that we saw in 22-23. And one thing I will say, though, with Christian Brown being out, I don't know if they've necessarily figured out the correct rotations. They ran some stuff against the Bulls. Yeah. They started Watson instead of Hardaway Jr., which I didn't necessarily like, but I understand the bench needing that offensive spark plug. So I think we're still figuring out the rotations that are necessary for when certain players go down. I think Watson does normally fill a good spark plug role, but it just didn't translate very well against the Bulls, who we saw just dismantling the zone defense, which is one of Adelman's favorite schemes.
Yeah. And it wasn't a good night for him. It wasn't a good night as far as, I think, just overall effort that we kind of saw that they usually have. They usually have that excitement, that effort, that championship mindset as they go. And like we said, Johnson has came in and talked about it. How he says, everything feels different here. There is a championship culture built here. They expect to win. They expect to go out. They expect to play well. We didn't see that the other night, but Chicago, like we said, young team, plays fast, had a really good game plan, and executed really well and pushed the Nuggets there. But I really like what you said about the defensive end, though. Cool stat here: 8th in the NBA in points allowed in the paint. I think a lot of that comes from Vooch that you have in the middle now, right? We saw that they were really good at guarding the perimeter, really good at getting out and scoring points from defensive steals, defensive disruptions and stuff like that. Now we're seeing it because teams aren't allowed to get into the paint. We've increased our size. We've increased our defense efficiency on the inside around the rim. We're rebounding. I think we have one of the best second chance boards for offensive rebounds coming out in the league, and then moving that into actual controlled tempo and offense. So turning defense to offense and being strong and big on the inside, I think is really helping because the offensive side, we're doing great. I think it's still over 120 something points a game, but defense has really stepped up. I think that's what's going to keep us afloat while we're seeing some of these injuries. And hopefully, Aaron's going to be okay and play tonight. I don't know if he's playing tonight, but I hope he plays tonight. I think, but bolstering that inside defensive kind of presence with Vooch is a huge, huge, huge addition this year.
Yeah, Valanciunas has added a lot of toughness,
Say Vooch
and
Valanciunas.
at the end of the day, for him, he's just owning that center position, and we've seen it. He is a true center in the NBA, where we're shifting away from that, and it just makes it so difficult to drive to the basket against somebody of that size and with that type of basketball IQ. And then you combine that with Jokic, Aaron Gordon being a presence in the paint, Peyton Watson blocking at a pretty high efficiency, over 1 block per game this season.
That's true.
So you've got a lot of guys who could contribute to that rim protection that we didn't necessarily have as Peyton Watson's developed into a better defensive player. Jokic has always had his high level IQ, but then the Valanciunas addition has made it so we don't have that slump when he leaves the court. And having the ability to give him that rest has been huge as well for Jokic. So this team is just really built well. I would love to see how they navigate this Christian Brown situation now that he's going to be out for 6 weeks with a high ankle sprain. That's tough. That's somebody we don't want to lose for that long, but it's a good test. We need to know what to do when the lineups change. And so to see the Nuggets play so efficiently on defense has been great. But I want to break down this Bulls loss because for me, that was disappointing. That was something that we've seen in this particular Nuggets team for several years now. That type of game is not new for them. And that's what was disappointing to me because I haven't seen that this season. I've seen them get into that rhythm and then play out of it.
Yeah.
But this was a game where they did kind of, they came back and then they slumped again and then they came back and they just couldn't quite close it out. But when you play offense in that way, you're living and dying by the 3-point shot. And for them, they just didn't want to make plays happen. I feel like they were playing a very lazy style on the offensive end, settling for a lot of 3-point shots, which is never a recipe for success if you're not hitting them.
No.
And what I'd really, really love to see is the adjustments. We need to see more adjustments at a quicker pace. When the 3-point shot isn't falling, we shouldn't be going after it, especially when there's still 15 seconds in the shot clock. I'd understand a 3-point shot with 3 seconds in the shot clock, 4 seconds in the shot clock. But when you still have double-digit time on your shot clock and you're not looking to find the open man or you're not looking to move the ball to the basket, that tells me that you're settling for shots and you don't want to win that game. You hope you start hitting them and then you win that way. And that's not how you win basketball games. It's just not. It can win you them sometimes, but it's not the recipe.
No, you're absolutely right. And I think you make a really good point there as you get into odd desperation that you don't really need. You start feeling like, oh, not only are we playing bad, but now I'm missing shots. He's missing shots. We're putting ourselves behind another 8 ball here. And now I need to shoot my way out of it. And like Adelman said, there was, Cam Johnson had a good game. He had a good shooting game finally, and we finally got to see that. Unfortunately, it was not contagious to the rest of the team in the locker room somehow because we couldn't hit the shots and the momentum shots when we needed it, right? I think there's a big thing about timing in the game. When you're hitting shots, when you're going on a run and getting the crowd involved and how you're imposing that and when the other team is kind of starting to get back on their heels. They weren't ever in that position where I felt like they were getting the Bulls out of their own stuff and kind of getting them back on their heels. They were always catching up, getting to that point. And there was times where, towards the end where you said, okay, actually, even though they've played bad, they're probably going to pull this out. They're probably going to pull this out. And unfortunately they didn't. Some good play by the Bulls down the stretch there. But you're not going to be able to sustainably play that way. And I think, like I said, I think Christian Brown being gone and having that rotation still be a little bit unsure is kind of going to be a problem until they figure that out.
Yeah, and I think one of the biggest adjustments I'd like to see going into this next game, I mean, they essentially wasted a combined 90 points from Cam Johnson, Jamal Murray, and Nikola Jokic.
Yeah.
We should not be losing games when Murray and Jokic have over 30 points. Murray with a double-double. There's no excuse for losing that type of game. And then Cam Johnson, like you said, he had good shooting splits. He scored 19 points. This is the Cam Johnson we expected when we traded for him. I think we're going to see him continue to expand his role. But what I would really like to see from the Nuggets is just more running plays. Like when they get into these slumps, I would really love to see them go to their more tried and true style of basketball. And obviously the pick and roll is a big part of that, but moving outside of that and trying to develop how can we get somebody open for an easy shot, because that's where they excel at, is making the easy basket. And when you're not moving the ball, when you're not running on the offensive end and you're not trying to make plays happen, which I'm not saying they weren't the entire game,
No.
but for the majority of the game, that was the case. And I just love to see the adjustments. So for David Adelman out there, let's just try some more stuff. He's been a fantastic coach. I know they're going to
Adelman,
bounce
please.
back. There was a lot of travel before that game, so I'm not worried about the loss. It's just more an example of what can be with
Yeah.
the Nuggets and something that we've already seen in the past. And I think that's what scares me is we've seen this before. This is the Nuggets we love, but we don't necessarily want to see that kind of play. It's tough to watch when they just can't buy a basket.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. And I don't think that we will see a lot of those games going forward. To be honest with you, I really don't we'll see that team that we saw the other day very much. I think we'll see the team and the Jokic that we saw against the Clippers more often than not because of, like you said, Adelman. He'll get it right. He'll get it right. And I think that they will get back to running set plays. I really think we need to get back into get Jokic down, bring him back up to the top of the key, run screens off of him, dribble handoff, and let him work. Because that seems to be the easiest way to get people easy shots on the Nuggets right now. Give him the ball, let him use his smarts and his savvy, and run off of him. Sometimes you don't even have to pass it to him. He'll just run past you and cut. And then someone else is cutting off him. Those are some of the best plays that we've seen this year is running off him. And hey, Aaron Gordon is playing great. He had an off game. Let's get him going again though. Run a couple plays for him, get him some easy back cuts, rolls, one-on-ones, back to the rim kind of stuff early in the game and allow that to kind of develop. And I think that we won't see too many games like we saw against the Chicago Bulls.
I agree. And Adelman has proven to be a very knowledgeable coach. I know that he's going to make the adjustments for these guys. And we're going to see less iso ball. I think that's what I had the biggest problem with is there was too much isolation basketball where they were just dribbling the shot clock out, trying to make something happen as an individual. And this team runs at its peak efficiency in more of a triangle style offense where we've got to pick and roll with a man at the 3-point line and then spreading that floor with those guys and letting Jokic or Aaron Gordon or whoever, control the bottom of the basket. So I'm excited to see those rotations. But for now, I think I'm even more excited to see some of the fits for this week. We had some really funny ones last week, but man, I'm curious what you got for us
There's
today.
some fits out there this week. I think that I think you're going to be happy with these ones. I think these are along the Fitted Nuggets fan fashion. What do we call it? Suggestions.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
Because
Okay. So I should like these, is what you're telling me.
I think you'll like these ones.
All right.
So first, though, let's check out your boy Halliburton.
Oh man.
I'm a silent. Not too many.
Halliburton is a guy, man. He's got some style. I have to admit, that's not quite as bad as some of the other outfits we've seen. At least it's on the dressier end. But I said this about Halliburton the other day. Halliburton dresses like he's a teacher, but he also is a student at the same time. That's what I've seen is he's kind of like that sub that comes in because he's the basketball coach. And then some days he dresses like he's the kid in class. So
he does.
He's got a wide style.
We could do a whole episode on him, I think.
Yeah.
Because I never know what he's going to wear. He kind of's got a Farnsworth Bentley kind of look going on right here. For those who remember Farnsworth Bentley, I don't know. Everyone remembers that. But this one is not as bad. Not too many colors, though.
Yeah.
Only a couple of shades.
I'm not big on tons and tons of colors. We got to keep it simple. Maybe 4 or 5 different ones, but this one's fine. The pink shirt movement, that's a personal choice, I think. He's got a nice, at least it's the right style of sweatshirt to go with a tie and a dress shirt.
The sweater.
We've got dress shoes, brown pants, I think might be a little questionable. We got a lot of tones getting involved in there, but not a bad fit. At least it's all the same style.
Okay.
I can move past the colors because I think that's kind of a personal thing.
Yeah.
But at least we've got the right idea that we're trying to get across.
Okay. We're gonna try to get you in that outfit at some point.
Just know I'm subbing class that day.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
We've got a pop quiz.
We got a pop quiz
for sure.
And you're up. All right. Next, well, let's check out our boy Russ.
Oh man. Is that denim?
That is a denim. That is a
It's got the
Canadian
Canadian tuxedo.
Canadian tuxedo,
Wow.
and it's got some like flowers printed on it.
Okay.
and, I don't know what color necessarily it is, but I think it's like a grayish.
Jean color almost,
Yeah.
like a gray jeans.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but he's
Oh,
always, he's always got something.
he's got a lot of flair. We talk about league fits. Russ is on both ends of that. As sometimes it's really, really bad. Sometimes it's
Just-
really, really good.
Yeah,
I don't hate this one. I
No.
think, again, we got a good consistency on style here. The color combos work. As far as, especially when it comes to Russ fits,
yeah,
I think you're right so far. This isn't too bad. This
Yeah.
isn't a bad outfit for him. I think the worst one I could think of was the construction worker
the
outfit.
construction worker was really bad. I think one time, I don't even know if he had a shirt on. I think
Nope.
there was one look he just didn't have a shirt on.
Yeah, just it was like
was
either a mesh thing or
Yeah,
it was interesting to say the least.
yeah,
but
and you never know what you're gonna get from
Yeah,
him. Really,
I think that's kind of the funness behind it. It generates a lot of conversation. I think that's a big part of the fits in general with the league right now is we're so much focus on analytics. They notice the analytics jump when they wear more fashionable stuff. And I think that's where we're bridging the gap here.
they want more TV time.
Yeah.
That's what they.
And
that's what it is.
advertisers want a bigger avenue to get their clothing out there. So, it's a win-win situation for a lot of people, and it gives us something funny to discuss.
Exactly, and I love it. So here's our last guy. Check out our boy Luca. I think you'll like this one.
Wow. Yeah. It's not bad. It's a little simple.
It's a little
But,
simple.
to me, this
so we
portrays
were
you're here
we
for
were talking
business.
about this.
Yeah.
Does the outfit change how I'm going to play tonight? Am I, if I'm wearing something wild, look at me. Does this mean I'm going for a 40 burger, or is it something like this where it's like, you know what, I'm coming in to take care of business, and this is my nice fit. This is my plain simple fit.
Yeah, in today's league, I think outfits are there to make a statement. They're trying to portray some type of message with their fit, whether it's a personal message or something about their game
Yep.
or something. I think fits have really integrated to that more statement, like, so to speak, phrasing. Now, with a fit like this, I don't think that's necessarily coming to mind. I think Luka is just there to play basketball, and whether or not it affects people on the court, I think it's hard to say. We've seen it with Jokic. He's pretty much good all the time.
He's pretty much good all the
And
time.
Same with Luka.
It doesn't matter what he wears.
I think I think it does play a factor for certain guys who can get in their own head and let it get to them, or have too big of head coming into the game. I think that is something that can happen. But for a guy like Luka, he's coming in, he's clocking in, he's getting his job done, and he's doing it well, regardless of what fit he has. Now, I think this is nice. There's definitely, obviously, some thought putting this on.
Yeah.
The color combos are nice. It's a casual fit. It's good for a tunnel walk.
This works into your color scheme.
Yeah,
Not-
exactly.
Not too many colors. Have a a theme that you're going for. Make sure it looks good. I like this one. Looks like it's all business. That's
Yeah.
what I was like. It is all business. No fun. Not necessarily no fun, but there's no funny business.
Yeah, we're prioritizing comfort with the fit like this. We got the sweatpants, the comfortable shoes on, the casual jacket, t-shirt. He's just there to be comfortable and just play basketball.
Yeah,
You gotta
exactly.
love it.
You gotta love it. You can't be mad at that. So, all right. Well, those are our looks this week. I got some crazier stuff next week coming. But today
We got to see some of the crazy stuff.
today I was like, you know what? After we talked about last week, I was like, let's see some of those just kind of nice fits, and see what you thought. So,
Yeah. Well, I
I
appreciate
kept
it.
it easy on you.
You
this
were
week.
right. I was surprised. I definitely thought I'd have more issues with some of those league fits there, and
I know.
most of them, those were pretty good. The
bags.
Halliburton's a classic fit
I got
for
the
him.
I got the bags next week. We gotta
Okay.
start commenting on these bags,
Yeah,
because some of these I'm not sure when is it a bag, when is it a purse.
that's a good question. Well, I'm looking forward to
'Cause they
talking
look
about
like
that next
purses
week.
to me. A lot of them look like purses.
It's a place to hold your stuff. I don't think it matters whether there's a strap or not. I think, again, it's a personal decision. I don't think it should matter as
I
far
like a
as the
bag.
male caveat to whether or not a purse should be worn in the outfit. I don't think it matters. Who
Yeah,
cares?
that's fair. I
If
mean,
you wear a backpack, what's the difference?
well, one's a purse, and one's a backpack.
Okay,
I-
one has one more strap. Yeah.
Well, I mean, if the purse, like, okay, if it's like a purse, and it's got the handle straps. It's got a buckle on it with a flap over. Right. I feel like that's a lot different than wearing a backpack that is a unisex type backpack. I think a purse is definitely a thing, like a specific thing,
Yeah.
rather than an all around bag. If that makes
Okay.
sense.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. Like, there's more of a purpose to wear a purse.
Yes.
I don't wear purses.
Me
I don't
neither.
own purses.
Me neither.
I'm a fan of the like satchel, the side
Yeah.
bags. I like
Yeah.
those. Those are nice just to have like a decently sized bag that's not crazy big like a backpack.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
I think we have a lot to talk about next week, it sounds like.
We have a
But
lot to talk about.
for now, I think we need to say goodbye to our live viewers here and move into our baseline buzzer beater segment.
Baseline buzzers. Hey, we're gonna hit it. Should we? All right. Let's just. Oh,